Hey guys, it's John from the Visicast. Today I'm giving you 5 tips on how to start collecting a new Warhammer 40k army. These tips apply to both veterans and to newbies alike. Before we start, if you can take a very quick second just to press subscribe and also hit the bell icon. Also give us a like or share with your friends, that would be much appreciated. I am currently working on a new army, a Tzeentch Demon list, so I'm going to use that as a way to illustrate the points I'm putting across. So the first point is to think about what you want your army to do. What do you want to get out of the hobby? Do you want to go to tournaments? Do you want to just play your friends? Or do you just want to paint models? Once you have that in your head, you know what your end goal is in terms of your collection of this army. So, for example, if you do want to play the game, you're not just painting, you can then build a list which suits the needs you want. For example, if you intend on going to tournaments, the list you'll take will be very, very filthy. People probably won't want to play you at clubs as much, that sort of stuff. If you just want to play amongst friends, then it's better to have a bit more of a varied list. Tournament lists tend to repeat things a lot. Like that, and friendly lists tend to be a little bit more varied in what they take. However, if you're just painting your army, you don't really need to worry so much about this. You just need to focus on the models that you want to collect. So if tournament play is what you're after, however it's your first army, I would strongly recommend you don't go down that path, because you need a very strong grasp on not only the general rules, but you'll need to know a lot of things about different armies to perform well. So if you want to get involved in tournament play and you're a veteran player, that's fine. There are plenty of places where you can figure out what the meta is and what lists do particularly well at this moment in time. However, the meta changes, and if you start an army and then you don't intend on finishing it for a year, expect things to completely change. If this is your goal, you need to bust your army out within a few months ideally. There are other ways you can find out what's going on. You can watch battle reports online and see which armies do well. Tabletop Tactics is one of the best YouTube channels around, and Lawrence over there does a lot of battle reports with really strong lists as well, and he's a very good player, so you can watch that. You can also watch a lot of armies on our channel. We do a lot of new codex release battle reports and things like that, so you can see what is effective before you have to play it, which is a great thing to do. If you are a fluffy bunny and you just want to play friendly games with your friends, that's absolutely fine. You don't need to consider this stuff as much. Just read unit entries, whatever you like the look of, you can take that sort of stuff. As long as everyone in your group has this same mentality, you shouldn't have any major issues. There will be instances where it will be a case of rock, paper, scissors, but that's just how the game is. It's less so than if you went to tournament play. And if you just want to paint, you've chosen the easy route. You literally just pick things you want to paint. It's pretty much that simple. There are a few other points if you're a newbie and you're going down the painting route, however. Characters, for example, are far more fun to paint than entire squads, and if you are doing squads one after the other, I would advise mixing it up in between, because painting the same model over and over again gets very tedious very, very quickly. Also, you might want to consider models that take on different colour schemes or different techniques, because if you're aiming to get better at painting, you'll want to practice a myriad of different things to improve skills across the board. However, there's one point that overshadows all of this. It's that you want to take an army that you have some form of connection to, i.e. you like the look of, you like the rules for, or you like the fluff behind. Otherwise it just feels a bit shallow and you won't have the passion that you do need in the hobby. Looking at my example here, my current Tzeentch Demon list that is in production, this is primarily for tournament play. And the reason I want to do that is I've been going to tournaments for a very long time, taking armies that I like to play against friends but aren't super effective at tournaments, and I want to step up a notch. So my ultimate goal with this army is to be able to take it to tournaments. However, moving on to our next point, so point number 2 is to plan a secondary use. You can get way more out of your army if you are aiming to do more than one thing with it, way more enjoyment out of it, and you'll put your money to better use. So whilst my primary objective with this army is to go to tournaments, if I buy a few extra models that I can add on in time, that will mean that the list can be played as a friendly thing against other friends. And don't worry, not all the points are complete cop-outs like that was. So all is not lost if you're a new player and this is your first army. You do want to originally play your friends, but you know you want to move on to tournaments. You want to save a bit of money, so you don't want to have to start a whole new army. In that instance, you can look at top tier armies. So there are armies that do very, very well just because they're a good army. You don't have to take the necessary units to make them super filthy. For example, top tier right now, Space Marines are really, really high up there. So you could go with an Ultramarine list, however have a varied list, meaning you can just play with your friends and no one's going to hate you completely. But then if you want to go to tournaments, you can easily take Guilliman, and you can take 6 Razorbacks if you wanted to. I don't know who would do that at tournaments, I really don't know. Point number 3 is to set an end point or a goal. If you have a goal, something you're reaching for, you'll be far more productive in terms of getting your army done. This army, for example, I'm taking to the GT in December at Warhammer World, so I know I have that end goal in mind, and that means I can plan my time and make sure that I get it painted in time. The goal doesn't have to be a tournament though, it can literally be a big games day with your friend. Just have something in mind where you want to get X amount of units done for. Trust me, you'll end up reaching that goal. Point number 4 is to plan the paint scheme. So regardless of which of the uses you're after, this applies to everyone. You want to think through what you want your paint scheme to be before you invest all that money in your army. There are several really good ways to look and plan your paint scheme. So for example, about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, I made a new Necron army. Now the Necron army is like a sort of sandy colour with object source lighting for blue across the whole thing. Really basic, because I wanted it for the YouTube channel, so that was my goal. And I wanted to get it turned out pretty quickly so we could start making battle reports with it. Now to figure out this, I knew roughly what I want. I had an idea that I wanted these sand coloured Necrons, but I needed reference material. So you can use Google image search, just type in as detailed as you can what you want into Google image search. Type in Instagram, you can search hashtags, so I just searched Necrons and kept scrolling until I found something that was similar to what I wanted. And there's also Pinterest, you can find a lot of very interesting things on there. So if you look at those, you can get different concepts and then you can piece them all together and make it your own. Additionally, there are guides everywhere, so if you like the look of something, you can find a guide. For example, this is the guide that I am using as a baseline for my Tzeentch Demon list, and that will allow you to know which paints you will need. So obviously the paint scheme is completely up to you. However, you will want to have a theme running throughout everything. So all the bases should probably be the same. Some might be a little bit more elaborate than others, but you want to follow the same sort of vibe across all the bases because it ties your whole army together. Additionally, you'll want sort of a base colour running throughout everything. So with the Tzeentch Demons, I've gone for purple and blue, and that will pop up throughout the whole army and help tie it together. With my Necrons, everything had the sand colour and the object source lighting on the blue. All the bases were the same. For my Raven Wing, all the bases the same and everything followed the box art because that's what I wanted from that. So we're on to point 5. I'm aware it's sad, we're nearing the end of the video. There are plenty more Visicast videos you should watch right now. So point number 5 is to plan what you need and plan your approach. So you'll need a rulebook, you'll also need an index and a codex. I know quite a few people who've started armies and not had these things. If you don't have those things and you haven't read up on what it is you're putting together, you'll be stumbling through the hobby not really knowing what's going on. That's if obviously you want to use these models to play with. If you're just painting, don't worry about it. Something you read in a book, however, might seem super effective. And then something that you read on paper might seem terrible, but when you get it on the board it's actually really good. So you shouldn't ever launch into just spamming a unit unless you kind of know, that it's going to be really good and you have the experience to tell that's going to be really good. If you are a newbie player, make sure you play test things before investing in a whole load of the same miniature, because you will want to do that. You could use standard models to do this if you have a group of friends who play. And the next point is to get a list of everything you need together. So I wrote the list for this army and pretty much every army I've ever made in Battlescribe. Battlescribe is a fantastic app and it is the easiest way for you to create a Warhammer 40k or Age of Sigmar list. And once you have everything in a list, you can go online. For example, I got this from Wargames, who we are sponsored by. I put it all into a wish list, so I had everything I needed right there, and I emailed it to myself so that when it came time to buy it, I could just press buy all that stuff. Additionally, in reference to the last point, your paint scheme, I knew every single paint I wanted because I'd already been through that process, so I added all that into the same basket. I bought all this at the same time because it was slightly easier. There are advantages to buying everything you need in one big hit. I appreciate everyone can't do that, that's absolutely fine, but there are certain benefits which you still get, to be fair, if you just write a list of everything you need. So if you have all the models, or you have a plan of all the models you need, and you buy all your paints that you need, I would suggest buying all the paints in one hit at a minimum, then you won't reach roadblocks. So you won't start putting a model together and start painting it and be like, I need that colour, otherwise I can't go anywhere with this army. Which will then, sort of as you have to go and buy the paint or order it online, delay you by a few days. It keeps your momentum going because you have everything you need right there. And that's pretty much it. There are a lot of extra points you could take into account when creating an army. If you have an amazing idea, which I'm sure you do because people who comment usually leave really good ideas, comment below so that we can share that information with both new players and with veterans. If there's enough good ideas, I will make a second video. But in the meantime, if you can, like, comment, subscribe, that would be fantastic. And make sure you check out some of our other videos, or especially our battle reports. Cheers for watching, guys.